Good morning. Free open source software and open standards for digital sovereignty. What does it mean? Digital sovereignty is the ability of a country or a group of countries like the European Union to provide the digital technologies critical for the welfare, competitiveness and ability to act. At the moment, as we know, part of these technologies are in the hands of a few companies. They're known by their initial as GAFAM. They have been able to create a situation where they can do more or less whatever they want in terms of storing what we do to sell us advertising. Most of the services they sell are free, and as many know, when something is free, you are the product. The level of subservience to these companies is so high that I will make an example which is relevant only for Microsoft, but human genes have been renamed because Excel was not able to correctly import the old names. So instead of having one single company change or update or patch one single software, we, the humanity, have changed our human gene names. This is just incredible and gives you an idea of the power of these companies in comparison with governments, with the scientific community, with everyone. Which is the state of digital sovereignty in Europe? The reality is that the state is very bad. Companies, the large US-based companies are trying to enter into whatever software project should be managed only in Europe. We have seen what has happened, and it's happening to the Gaia X project, and what is happening in countries with the plan for recovery after COVID. In countries like Italy, the coordinator of that plan for the digital environment is a Microsoft employee. That is unbelievable, but it's the reality. Data during the years have evolved. So in the past they were just the result of a process, then they became the enabler of process, then they became the enabler of products, and now they are the enabler of our economy. Not everything, but a lot of what we do is based on data, and therefore the management of data, the handling of data, the sharing of data is of key importance. Which is the difference between proprietary and free open source software? Proprietary software protects the user by obfuscating everything, also the information, but in this way they obfuscate the way they handle user data. Free open source software, on the contrary, protects the user with transparency. So we say what we do in terms of source code. We are transparent in the way that we handle data, the methodologies used by project to manage end user data. So what would change moving from proprietary as of today to free open source software, especially in the area of desktop productivity, which is the application used by every person for his own needs. When you write a document, you create a spreadsheet to make your own calculation, you make a presentation, you handle your own personal data. So if this could be managed by free open source software, European government would regain control of our data and manage them according to their confidentiality, which means manage this data according to what we, the user and the owners of the data, would like them to do. Of course, in some cases it is wise to give up some privacy because that is an advantage for the user. For instance, when my healthcare data, if they are available, if I have an accident, the doctors could look at my data, see if I have a pathology, if I need special care, and even if I'm not able to provide them this data, they could use this data to my advantage. Of course, switching to free open source software would mean moving from proprietary to standard document formats. And this would have a huge advantage in terms of cost, in terms of interoperability, because the lack of interoperability is a cost, in terms of transparency, and again, in terms of the users being able to decide which data they want to be shared, so accessible, and data they don't want to be shared, so they are not accessible. Apparently, this is a no-brainer. It just makes sense. But the problem is that politicians are not technology experts. They see the large companies as part of the global system. They seem to ignore that these companies have commercial strategy that ignore completely the advantages of individuals and of countries and of the European Union. And therefore, the politician, as they see these companies as part of the system, consider issues that are relevant for these companies a problem for our transformation process, digital transformation process, and they try to help them, which is totally wrong. It's exactly the contrary of what should happen. The reality is that politicians, exactly because they do not understand technology, they should see free open source software as part of the global system, because it's closer to the user, it respects the freedom of the users, it respects the freedom of the countries, it respects the freedom of the governments, it respects the freedom of the entire system. Because they don't know free open source software, they do not see free open source software as a potential solution. And as a consequence of this, they put everything in the hands of US companies, large US companies. There is a Free Software Foundation Europe project that is called Public Money, Public Code, and basically it says that if the money is paid by the community, then the code should be public. The code should be owned by the community. So how can we regain the control of our data? It would be rather easy if the entire organization, the global organization, political, economical, could choose based on the advantages for the users. And the only way is to regain control of our data is to have a format and a technology that allows true interoperability of contents. Documents are an extremely important tool because they move around from citizen to government, from government to government, and from government to citizen. They move from enterprise to enterprise. They move around. Documents carry our common intelligence. They carry what we create. They carry information. They are a source of power if, because knowledge is power, if correctly managed. So the problem, the produce, update, reproduce documents is extremely important. And if the platform that is used to produce, update, and reproduce the document is not open, is proprietary, then the user will be locked into that platform, and will not be able to manage their own contents. So they will create documents, but they will not be able to manage them with the same level of freedom they have created that document. So government should be platform independent and allow only true document standards, because the pseudo standards that are used today in a way that is not visible to anyone prevent the users to prevent interoperability, prevent users to be the controller of their documents. And the tweak standards force citizens to pay a fee to create document, because they have to pay for a proprietary license, or in some cases they have to accept the license that basically shares the ownership of the documents, of the contents, between the real owner, the user, and the owner of the platform. So only standards associated to free open source software can solve the problem. We have one really very good standard for documents, is ODF. ODF is the best standard file format for user of personal productivity, because it's consistent, is interoperable, is predictable, is easy to understand even for non-technical users. The unfortunate reality is that the majority, but when I say the majority, it's over 95% of the user, probably over 99% of the user, they think that the Microsoft Office documents they use are standards because of the way the standards are being created and managed in a non-transparent way. So there is a standard which has the same name and the same file extension, but the fact is that no one is using that standard, and all the other using the non-standard variant of the format. So we can say that 100% of existing Microsoft Office files around are non-standard. They are proprietary, and they just respect the strategy where Office OpenXML has been designed. It has been designed as a pseudo standard to propagate yesterday document issues and lock-in strategy for the next 20 to 50 years. The reality is that ODF was created to liberate the users from the lock-in, to provide users a transparent format which is good for the next 20 to 50 years, and the users continue to use a format that is exactly the opposite. It's blocking their capability of choosing for the next 20 to 50 years. We have a simple and true standards. ODF, ODT is the text variant with low or non-existing complexity and human readable files. And on the other hand, you have a Microsoft Office format which is injecting the highest possible complexity inside the files, exactly because they don't want the XML files to be human readable, because they want to lock in the users. So please help us in making it clear, especially for the European Union, for the governments. Help us in making it clear that switching to open standards is the way to go, and is the way everyone should be looking at document formats for the next 20 to 50 years. We have the technology, it's easy to implement. Don't be shy, use the technology, liberate your documents. Thank you for listening.